it's Sam from Sugar Spun and today I am showing you how I make Maryland crab soup. As a native Marylander, I have a lot of opinions about how blue crab recipes should be made. I know a lot of other people in this state do as well, but today I wanted to share my favorite version of Maryland crab soup. This is a tomato-based soup, unlike the cream of crab soup, which I recently shared a couple months ago. There's a fair bit of simmering required in this recipe, but overall things do come together pretty quickly. So let's head over to the stovetop, grab yourself a large soup pot, and let's get started. First thing you want to do is turn your stovetop heat to medium, and we are going to add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We're gonna let that melt nicely in there. So once your butter is nice and melted, we are going to add some onion. This is a cup of diced yellow onion. I also have, this is about a cup of carrot as well. I have cut 2 carrots into coin shapes. We'll add this as well. Then I also add a little bit of celery as well. This is just 1 celery stalk, or I guess I should say celery branch, that I have cut into small pieces. We're going to cook everything until the veggies have softened. This is going to take about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer because these carrot pieces are actually pretty big. And ideally all your veggies should be cut to be about the same size, that way they cook at the same time or at the same rate. All right, once your veggies are softened, we're going to be adding 28 ounces of whole peeled tomatoes. Those right in there. And at this point, I also like to add my seasoning. We're going to be adding Old Bay, which is a classic Maryland ingredient. I suspect a lot of seafood seasonings could work in place of it, but if you have access to Old Bay, use it. I will also try to remember to add a link to it as well, because I do know you can get it on Amazon. So Maryland crab soup should have some spice to it. It's just how it is. You expect a little bit of heat. So we use quite a bit of this seasoning. We're using 2.5 tablespoons. Now, if you are a little spice averse, you can start with just a tablespoon and taste test and add as you would like, but this recipe was made to have some of that heat to it. And we're not adding additional salt because Old Bay has plenty of it mixed right in there. So there's our Old Bay, and we're also going to add a tablespoon of dry mustard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start breaking up these tomatoes. Switch to a sturdier spatula. Break up those tomatoes, stir in that spice, and once I get everything broken up, I'm going to cook this for at least another minute longer. I like to sort of begin to caramelize the tomatoes a little bit, develop the spices or bloom them a little bit in this thicker sauce before we start to thin things by adding broth and other ingredients. So this step of adding just the tomato and spices really deepens the flavor really nicely here. And of course, if you prefer, you can just crush the tomatoes by hand before you add them into the soup. Whatever works better for you. One's a little messier, one's a little more time consuming, so pick your poison. All right, once that's had a little bit of time to cook, just takes like a minute or 2, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients except our crab meat. So we're going to add a pound of green beans. These are cut into about 1-inch pieces. I'm using fresh green beans today, but frozen could be substituted, no problem. And we've also trimmed the ends off the green beans as well. We're adding 1.5 cups of peeled gold potatoes that have been diced into small pieces. You want the pieces to be nice and small, that way they cook through and your veggies are nice and tender for you. And I'm not sure if I gave you a size, but these are like 1/2-inch cubes. We'll also add 1.5 cups of frozen sweet corn, a 1/2 cup of lima beans, and with the corn and lima beans, you can use fresh or frozen. We're also going to be adding some Worcestershire sauce, or however you say it. We're adding a 1/4 cup. So we're adding 4 cups of beef broth and 2 cups of water. Now, some people will take steamed crabs or steam their crabs and then use the shells to make like a stock to make the crab soup. That is a great way to do it if you want to, experiment with that. But beef broth is very commonly used when making crab soup, and I am totally happy, should I say thrilled, with the results made this way. So we're going to bring this to a boil. Once it's boiling, we'll reduce the heat and we'll simmer it. We're going to simmer it for 30 minutes, stirring occasionally before we go any further. After everything has simmered, we will add our crab. So you need a pound of fresh blue crab meat for this recipe. Jumbo lump is my preference. It's pretty much always my preference when making crab soup, but lump crab meat is less expensive, and while the pieces are finer and more shredded, it does work pretty well in Maryland crab soup. It's what I'm using today, so you can use either of those. If I didn't already say this, you want to be using pre-steamed blue crab meat, and you want to pick through it in case there are any shells in there. Carefully add the crab meat. You don't want to splash yourself. All right, we'll get this nicely stirred in, then it's going to continue to simmer for another 30 minutes, and then you can go ahead and serve. And that is how we make Maryland crab soup in my family. I hope you enjoy this recipe. If you try it, grab yourself some oyster crackers or saltine crackers to top it with. Really think you're going to love it, especially if you like a nice little kick to your soup. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. All right, this is really hot. We've never let that stop us before. It's so good.